Over 40 million jobless in 2.5 months. 2.123 million more Americans filed for unemployment during the last week alone, bringing the total unemployed in America to over 40.8 million. About a quarter of the U.S. workforce has applied for jobless benefits during this pandemic. That's almost twice as many Americans have filed for unemployment than jobs gained during the last decade since the end of the Great Recession. And the real numbers are probably way worse. The U.S. debt to GDP just popped to 122% today. That's what happens when you close down commerce. That is what happened when you allow the government and governors to shut down your businesses and places of work. We are being MMTed. More incentives will be introduced to not have a job. Essential slaves will get a bonus to stay on their job. Most of these unemployed people get paid more sitting at home drinking and smoking dope than to be productive. Reward the fat, sickly, obese, useless, lazy, and fearful for their contribution to public health by being shut-ins, and bad things happen. Whatever you are promised, it will be at your expense. It always is. The whole system was due for collapse. Systemic collapse is underway. Opening a shut-down economy is a bad joke. No business can reasonably function at a fraction of capacity, especially restaurants. For those that manage to reopen and hire workers to get by, what do you think is going to happen when the bennies run out in July, and there are no jobs, good or bad, for 40 million people? We're a dead country walking. They've printed trillions and have only managed to keep things quiet for another month. Evictions are about to hit the ground running. Once the current renters are put on the street, the landlords are going to discover there is no one else to rent to. It is going to be an interesting summer. There is a huge difference between being open and being back to normal. Nothing is back to normal. People aren't doing things. Everyone is uncertain about their job or the economy or the next health crisis, so nobody is spending money. Nobody is planning trips for the summer. The economic fallout is only just beginning. Until faith in the economy is restored, which may take years, the damage will continue. Just wait until people's unemployment runs out in October or November. The good times are gonna roll. You best enjoy the next 2 to 3 months, because after that it's going to get real ugly for a long time. So you best enjoy your steaks and wine in moderation. We are going through an economic meltdown, never before seen in history. The dominoes have not really started calling yet. Renters, car loans, utility bills, insurance premiums, mall operators, airlines, hospitality, and Trumpeo chooses now to have a showdown with China. And the Dow is 100 points higher on this news. All these unemployment numbers have been good news for the stock market. Every time it has been a good reason to make a new short-term high. I thought the economy was based on employment. Guess it's really based on the rich squeezing every drop out before they go home with theirs. Wall Street is a grim picture of gamblers gone bad. Unfortunately, the globalist Fed is one of the worst. Fed dollars are, by definition, debt. It's really hard to fix something that was fake, to begin with. The stock market is a tool that gives the rich access to a poor man's capital via 401ks, pensions, and savings. The Fed will be in at about 10 a.m. to keep the market flat for the week. Tomorrow will be flat too. We can all go home for the week. Happens every Thursday. The trillions and trillions of dollars that are being thrown out the problem and that are being created out of thin air by the Federal Reserve, which is buying up everything and flooding the economy with newly created money. This is going to do far more damage to the economy than the coronavirus. The damage from the panic has been far worse than the damage from the virus. The government's cure is far worse than this disease. The system is structured to collapse. These politicians' mainstream media just don't get it. Lockdowns and house arrest kill, fresh air, work, walks on the beach, and being out in the open, cure. I still don't understand why we locked the economy down. The only thing that would have helped is locking the borders down early on, which, apparently, suddenly became racist somehow. Waiting a few months and then closing down barbers and restaurants was pointless. This lockdown allowed the Federal Reserve to initiate a massive bank bailout without anyone even questioning, unlike the aftermath of 2009. The bankers knew that they needed to make it publicly palatable, so threw in the loss of life gig. The Fed truly doesn't care about the domestic economy. We were already a highly leveraged economy. Everybody had borrowed money. Corporations had borrowed money, state and local governments had borrowed money, the federal government. Individuals with record student loans, credit card debt, auto debt. There was a massive increase in public debts. Estimates are the public and private debt as a share of GDP is now 350% as of the end of last year. But this year it might be closer to 400%. States and local governments are facing a $1 trillion shortfall in revenues over the next year and a half through 2021. Nobody had saved anything for a rainy day. Today it's not only raining, it is pouring, and we've got nothing. Mostly we could just print money. The Federal Reserve is printing $1 million every second. In just 1 week, the Fed printed $586 billion, setting a new all-time high record for its balance sheet. This is the end game. This time the Fed is not going to be able to bail us out with a bigger bubble than the one that just popped. All the years of kicking the can down the road, we finally caught up to the can, and there's no more road. And this can is too big, if we kick it, we break our foot. Everything the government is doing is going to delay the recovery, and it's going to deepen the depression that we entered into. What we need is the free market to function. When the free market functions, over-leveraged businesses fail. Businesses that no longer have adequate demand to go out of business, and they free up their resources, they free up labor, which is a resource to do something else. But what the government wants to do is to maintain the status quo. They want to artificially keep businesses afloat that would sink in a free market. And so they redirect resources from where the market wants them to be, to where the government wants to trap them. Therefore all these businesses that are being bailed out today are going to need constant bailouts in the future. The people who are being subsidized not to work are going to have to be subsidized indefinitely. Because the businesses that need to employ them are not going to be created. Because we're redirecting capital to maintaining the businesses that should be failing. We are on fast track to inflation. Not only are people going to be paying a lot more money for bread, but they're going to be waiting in long lines to get it. Things are gonna change dramatically in this country. I think we're headed for a collapse of the dollar. I think the dollar is going to lose its status as the reserve currency. The American standard of living is going to implode because we've been living beyond our means. The rest of the world has been enabling that by living beneath its means. The scarcity of goods will become a popular paradigm. Civility and security will become even more scarce. People still assume that governments have the nation's interests at heart. Nothing could be further from the truth. The writing is on the wall. The powers that be want the rule of the few over the many. It is commonly called tyranny. If you keep on sleeping, you will wake up in the slaughterhouse. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. We are fast approaching the stage of the ultimate inversion, the stage where the government is free to do anything it pleases, while the citizens may act only by permission, which is the stage of the darkest periods of human history, the stage of rule by brute force. Ayn Rand. Every action the US government takes to remedy this situation involves somebody borrowing money. Take a loan to continue a business that has a 99% chance of being shut down when the globalists turn on the second wave act of the corona pandemic show to destroy the middle class. The serfs are tapped out, they can't afford to borrow any more money. The Federal Reserve murdered small businesses. This is the final act of the United States of usury. In the current political climate, no potential leader in an election campaign is going to tell the electorate that she will be reducing the national debt and, in turn, reducing benefits and social programs. You just won't get elected that way in the tussle between populism and socialism. That tells you national debt in all the Western world is only going one way. Socialists don't want leaders, they want Santa Claus. The American people have gotten checks for nothing, unemployment up the yin-yang. Government spending that trickles down. Government jobs based totally on debt. Near zero interest rates. Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, countless freebies everywhere that would take up volumes and volumes of books. We have a $25 trillion deficit handing out freebies to anyone and everyone. Trump and his supporters are now worse than Bernie Bros, who at least want to raise taxes to pay for all this, and he is honest about it. What's going to happen when the Fed owns everything? Weimar and Zimbabwe and ironically Venezuela. America had decided to join your club. Welcome to the new Gilded Age. Nothing says free markets and capitalism like buying junk bonds, government bonds, stocks, and bailing out the multi-billionaires. Businesses have much to be uncertain about, given the ridiculous burdens hanging on them with a team of cops, bureaucrats, and lawyers ready to make their lives more difficult. Why take out a loan to pay employees to do nothing? The government already does that. I have also heard that they don't want to take it because they cannot lay off employees while they have it. The layoffs are coming, and I believe the small businesses are getting ready to do just that, en masse. Employees collecting unemployment won't come back to get on the payroll, which is required for loan forgiveness. The Fed murdered businesses on the main street. When everything is bailed out with whatever the current money is, the current money loses value, and the national money currency, which is supposed to reward valuable companies, becomes valueless. Then, companies with value will start to trade in a more valuable currency or money, whatever that may be. The trillions they're pumping into the economy are going straight into the markets, which is why the Dow goes up, but our wallets keep getting thinner. It should be impossible for a stock to go up if the underlying company isn't making profits or have any income at all, but in today's world, that's what happens. We'll keep collecting and trading dollars in the US until China or some other country out there decides to start dumping our currency, and raging inflation starts working its way through our supply chains. I think you might see China dump their treasuries the week of election night. I also believe if that does happen, election night will be cancelled. Someone prophesied that Trump would be the last American president. I'm starting to believe it's true. It's the fall of the Roman Empire again. History certainly rhymes. Now we can look forward to the technocratic dark ages with the man of perdition and implanted chips. And when everything else has failed, they will take you to war. That's all. The sleeping American is a lumbering, mouth-breathing troglodyte hooked on TikTok and unemployment benefits. I question what percentage of Americans are even fully literate, to say nothing of being financially literate. There is nothing I would welcome more than the Great Awakening, but our collective IQ has deteriorated to such an extent that I'm not sure we have sufficient brainpower to drive such an event. I wish I was kidding. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.